And welcome back, everyone. I am joined today by David Lemieux, former middleweight champion of the IBF sanctioning body and a 40-4 record in professional boxing, getting ready and training back in Canada for a potential fight later on this year. But before we get into all the nitty-gritty, David, you're in your car right now. You just finished training from what I understand, correct?
Exactly. I just left the gym, so you caught me at the perfect timing. So I was just heading back home.
How has training been? I know over the last year you've had to battle some injuries, specifically a hand injury and a back injury. It's kind of sidelined you a bit, but at your current age of 31, how are you feeling physically?
Actually, you know what? This whole scenario, which is the COVID-19, has given me my body a rest. The hand injuries on to work on things that uh, I could use to recuperate. So I could use this time to heal all the little injuries. So I can prepare properly, and the training has been didn't stop. Just been working on some recuperation and some things to help heal all the little problems. It's a good time I took to help me heal up. So it's good.
So you feel like the pandemic and the stop of the sport has been a little bit beneficial for you, especially recovering?
I can say that for sure. I would like to be fighting. Definitely, I would like to be in action, but it also gave me a bit of time to heal all the injuries. So once the light is green, I'm gonna be very ready to go.
And what in your last fight, it was your super middleweight debut. Have you now also gotten used to the new weights in your training and what your walking around weight is and such?
Yeah, well, super middleweight was for sure an initiative in my fight in December, but the inactivity didn't play in my favor. So that for sure that we wanted to work on that and be active during this year. But then came the pandemic, so it put everything else on pause again. So the plan for this year was to be active and not to fight once in the whole year. So. Um, the plan was to be active. So once all this is over, hopefully I'm gonna have two fights by the end of the year.
Speaking of that super middleweight debut, you survived a scary fight in that one. You got knocked down twice against Maxim Gravchik. What happened in that fight? What was going wrong?
Um, Absolutely, I've been hit a lot harder from a lot stronger guys than Max Bursak. Uh, I can't tell you exactly what it was, but I wasn't in my top abilities during that fight. Um, I got knocked down with punches I shouldn't have been knocked down from, and like I said, I'm using this pause to benefit me and to not get scenes like that happen again. So it was a tough fight. I think the inactivity was the biggest issue in that game. So we're doing everything we can to get back in training and get back in top solid strong shape. Uh, put all the injuries in the back and come back strong once the next fight is scheduled.
Yeah, and you mentioned inactivity. Your last fight before that was 15 months prior to it when you knocked out Spike O'Sullivan in devastating fashion on the Canelo Alvarez undercard. And here we are today in 2020, and there's conversations arising that you might perhaps be in contention for a fight with Canelo Alvarez. What do you know about this, and what's the latest you could provide?
Well, that's pretty much all I know. The details haven't been given to me much more than that, but it's up there and the interest is there. So uh, it's been a fight that's been going on for years. We were supposed to fight years back. Um, so once the contract is signed, that's when I'll give you guys the fight is on. But before that, well, it's all talks.
Absolutely. And, I think one of the beneficial, perhaps, stances that you have is you're also co-promoted by Golden Boy, which, of course, Canelo is a Golden Boy fighter as well, too. Do you believe with all of the things that are happening right now, there's fighters asking for too much money. There's also the situation where fans can't attend fights to have a live gate for promoters. Do you think you're in the perfect scenario to perhaps be the leading candidate, considering all of those circumstances?
I want to get paid too, of course. So
Uh,
we're not gonna be picking on me for cheap fights. So if that's the case, I have some good people around me to make sure that what's due is due. So we're staying ready. We're staying prepared for whatever fight there is to put up. But the situation is terrible. But I have a family to feed, and you know I have sums that are that are logically due. But we're not gonna because of the situation go way under the what is the minimum and stuff like that. So for sure the situation is not fun. Is not fun, but got a family to feed also. So all that is in the hands of my promoter manager Camilo Stefan. So I'm in good hands, and I do the fighting, he does the calculating.
Absolutely. Is there a magic number that you're looking for? Perhaps I would assume you would go after a career high payday at this point, having been in the ring with Billy Joe Saunders and Gennady Golovkin. Is there a magic number that you would be after, considering negotiations?
A victory against Canelo. That's the number I'm looking at.
Uh-huh. What kind of, do you think you're ready to jump into a fight with Canelo, considering the layoff of what has occurred over the last 2 years, only having that one fight?
Preferably, for sure, we would like to have a fight in terms. But if we were to fight Canelo, we'd do everything we need to get everything I need in my way. I've been in the game a long time, and I can build a camp to be in a super shape for a fight like Canelo. So, if it's preferable to fight him right away, I guess personally I would like a fight before I could, get in the ring with Canelo. He's a great fighter, very dangerous, very strong, very well-rounded. But if that's the case, I'll be prepared for any scenario for next fight. I'll be prepared. I have a good team around me, so they're gonna do the maximum we need in the resources we need and the guys we need to train with to be ready for Canelo, and not just to be ready to win.
Is this the time where you bring Arthur Beterbiev in your camp as a sparring partner and Eliezer Alvarez to really make sure you can withstand the power at 168?
Those are some big boys. Arthur Beterbiev is definitely a very solid light heavyweight. So for sure, Mark would make sure that all the guys are there and they're ready. So if that's what I need to, for sure, I'll get that in my sparring.
Uh-huh. How would you describe your fighting style at this stage of your career? You've been in front of boxing fans for the last 10 years in big time fights, big time KOs. Everyone describes you as a fighter with one punch knockout. You'll always have a chance with your knockout power, but how do you describe yourself at this stage of your career going into a new division?
Well, I've shown many abilities in many different fights, and not just a one-punch knockout artist. When I won the IBF Championship of the World against Hassan Endam, I showed that I could box. I could use many different tools in the ring. So it's not just a knockout artist. So when I'm well prepared and in the ring, I can box, and I can for sure my abilities are power punching, but if I need to box, I can box too. So that's it.
How do you think a fight with Canelo Alvarez plays out? We've seen you against Golovkin. We've seen you against Billy Joe Saunders in the high class caliber opponents. With Canelo specifically, how do you see that fight playing out for you?
I think Canelo is a tremendous fighter and has been improving in the years. He has tremendous movements. He's a very hard fighter to hit clean, um, but he don't run. He don't run. Styles make fights, and every fighter has their style. Some, I think Canelo would be a good matchup for fireworks for the fans.
So you think having a stationary target there in front of you is going to give you a better opportunity to prove the fans right?
No, not at all. I can run after a guy too when I need, but in the Saunders fight, there was some stuff that needed to be done. I just came off of a knee surgery and stuff like that. So I'm not trying to use excuses, but every fight has their signification. But um, and don't prove me wrong, Canelo is not a stationary fighter, and he's an extremely difficult fighter to hit flush or hit at all. He's a very well-rounded fighter, so it would be not an easy target to land big shots on.
Hmm. And I think what you're also going after is your legacy as a champion at 160 pounds. You were the IBF crown holder. That was a belt that Arthur Abraham, another Armenian fighter, once had in his career. I know you were a big fan of Arthur Abraham coming up the ranks. I think there's about a 9-year age difference between you two. You could perhaps be a two-division champion like Abraham yourself. How do you, considering you're around so many different Armenian fighters today at the gym as well too, how has your heritage shaped your interest in the sport and where you want your legacy to be?
Armenians are great fighters. A lot of great fighters train around me. You mentioned Arthur Abraham. Now I'm in the gym a lot with Eric Bazinian. A lot of young fighters coming up also. Um, it's always been great to have a part of your culture close to you and in the same kind of sport, in the same world that you're living in. Um, but I've always been a very individualist in the world of boxing. I always concentrated on my stuff. I always looked around, make sure what I could pick off of different guys, but I always concentrated on my craft and uh, making sure everything was good for me.
Mhm. How has it been for yourself as an Armenian growing up in Canada? It's definitely, I know there's a big population in Montreal, so you're definitely not by yourself in isolation. How would you describe the Armenian community there? I see you post a lot of weddings on your social media every now and
I got a lot of Armenian friends. I got a lot of Armenian friends. For sure, I have my close friends are Armenian. A lot of French friends. Very diversified. My mom is Armenian from Lebanon. My stepdad is also Armenian from Lebanon. My dad is Quebecois. So there's a big cultural mix. But I grew up speaking Armenian as a first language, growing up with my mom and my stepdad. So um, and all around my childhood, my close friends have usually been Lebanese or Armenian. So for sure, kept the culture very close by.
how many languages do you speak, David?
Um, well, Armenian, French, English. I would say Arabic, but I lost a lot of it during the year, so I can't really say Arabic anymore. So I speak and I do speak a bit of Spanish, but not when the Mexicans talk to me. They talk too fast.
Yeah, let your hands do the talking, right?
Yeah,
And
there you go.
you said you have a family to provide for. From what I understand, you might not even be the best athlete in your family. Please talk to me about your partner.
My partner.
Yes, who is an Olympic diver, if I recall correctly.
Oh yeah, yes, yes. Well, we're in two different worlds. She's in the diving world, a tremendous athlete, but I'm in the fight world, so it's two very different worlds. But we combine very well. So we get the job done in both our fields.
Uh-huh. I see you're doing the interview from the car. What are you driving these days? Is it still a BMW?
No, I got my Mercedes CLS 450.
Like a true Armenian, only Mercedes and BMW, right?
Oh, sure, so of course. We know the
um,
good stuff.
absolutely. What's your favorite Armenian food to eat out in Canada?
Well, my mom makes a killer tabbouleh with um, Arabic meat, Armenian kebab and stuff like that. So typical Armenian food, some good tabbouleh with some good meat.
Uh-huh. You probably stay away from the Armenian food during training camp, though, I assume?
That's not a choice, of course. Got the foods prepped up, everything ready. Staying away from the fatty Armenian food sometimes, but gotta keep it close too.
Absolutely. And David, before I let you go, I know you said you speak so many languages. How about a parting message for your Armenian fans in Armenian? What would you like to tell them?
Imedis Koves Getzir Nair Karmar Zoravoriet become Shadarak after as pandemic Verchanane.
Shatlov Davidchan, thank you very much, David. Wishing you much success in the future. Hopefully we have some developments on the Canelo Alvarez front soon, and we see you back in the big boxing picture in the not too distant future. And thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy day right after training, and best of luck to you moving forward.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll speak soon